Hurricane Irma passing through the Leeward Islands as Category 5 hurricane, dangerous threat for Florida. Hurricane Irma, a dangerous Category 5 hurricane, is nearing the island of Barbuda, an island of 1,600 residents, with 185 miles per hour sustained winds and higher gusts. Irma will rake through the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispañola, the Bahamas and Cuba before posing a serious threat to Florida and parts of the southeast beginning this weekend. Irma became the strongest hurricane in the Atlantic basin, outside of the Caribbean Sea and Gulf of Mexico, on record on Tuesday morning, according to the National Hurricane Center. Below is everything we know about Irma right now, including its latest status, along with potential forecast impacts in the U.S. and the Caribbean islands. Irma's latest status. Timing. The center of Irma is located less than 50 miles east-southeast of the island of Barbuda and is moving west-northwestward at about 15 miles per hour. This is a change in forward movement as a slight right turn has taken place, but not enough for impacts to be lessened in the northern Leeward Islands. Irma's maximum sustained winds are steady at 185 miles per hour based on data from NOAA and Air Force Hurricane Hunter aircraft. Based on wind speed, Irma is the strongest Atlantic hurricane since Wilma in 2005, which also had maximum sustained winds of 185 miles per hour. Additionally, Irma is just the fifth Atlantic hurricane to have maximum sustained winds of 185 miles per hour or greater, according to Drive. Phil Klotzbach, a tropical scientist at Colorado State University. Hurricane Allen occupies the top spot with 190 miles per hour winds in 1980. Hurricane warnings have been issued for the northern Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands and for the northern coast of the Dominican Republic. This includes Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, Sal, St. Eustatius, St. Martin, St. Martin, St. Barthélemy, Guadeloupe, Vieques, and Culebra. Additionally, a tropical storm warning is in effect for Dominica and for the southern coast of the Dominican Republic from Cabo Angano westward to the border with Haiti. A hurricane watch is also in effect for the north coast Haiti from the border with the Dominican Republic to La Mole St. Nicolas, the Turks and Caicos Islands and the southeastern Bahamas. A hurricane watch has also been issued for Cuba from Matanzas province eastward to Guantanamo province. Low wind shear, increased mid-level moisture and ample oceanic heat content favor that Irma will remain a powerful hurricane, Category 4 or stronger, for the next several days, though some intensity fluctuations are likely at times. At this intensity, small deviations in wind speed will not change impacts. A direct hit will be catastrophic. For the next 5 days, Irma will move west-northwest on the south side of a ridge of high pressure called the Bermuda High, centered in the central Atlantic. By this weekend, Irma will begin to turn north in the direction of a departing southward dip in the jet stream that will set up in the eastern United States. Where that northward turn occurs will be critical for what impacts Irma may bring to parts of the southeastern United States. Here's a general overview of the timing for impacts from Irma into this weekend. Potential impact timing. Leeward Islands, Wednesday. Tropical storm force winds will arrive by sunrise. Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Wednesday early Thursday. Tropical storm force winds will arrive during the early morning hours. Dominican Republic/Haiti, Thursday. Tropical storm force winds will arrive Wednesday night or on Thursday. Turks and Caicos, late Thursday to Friday. Bahamas, Friday this weekend. Cuba, Friday this weekend. Southeast United States, this weekend into early next week, beginning in South Florida Saturday. U.S. Forecast, watching Florida, southeast closely. While it is still too soon to narrow down specifics on the exact path of Irma's center and eyewall, there is an increasing chance of a major hurricane strike on at least part of South Florida, including the Florida Keys, this weekend. As mentioned before, the vast majority of the forecast guidance indicates Irma will begin to turn more to the north sometime this weekend. The strength and expansiveness of the Bermuda Azores high over the Atlantic Ocean and the timing, depth and location of a southward dip in the jet stream near the eastern U.S. will dictate where and when that northward turn occurs. According to the latest NHC forecast, The center of Irma may be very close to South Florida by Sunday morning, with conditions going downhill already during the day, Saturday, and worsening for southwest Florida on Sunday. However, as the NHC reminds us, average errors in the track of the center of an Atlantic tropical cyclone 4 to 5 days out are between 175 and 225 miles, which can make a large difference in impacts. For now, all residents along the southeast coast and eastern Gulf Coast, including Florida, Georgia and the Carolinas, should monitor the progress of Irma closely. In addition, Irma's wind field will be large, therefore, dangerous surf and coastal flooding will likely exist throughout the southeastern U.S. coastline even well away from Irma's center by late week. No matter what the future holds for Irma's path and intensity, the NHC advises, everyone in hurricane-prone areas should ensure that they have their hurricane plan in place, as we are now near the peak of the season. Forecast: Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispañola, Cuba, Bahamas. Leeward Islands. Irma will make a direct hit on the northern Leeward Islands overnight into early Wednesday morning as a Category 5 hurricane, the strongest to hit that area since Lenny in 1999. Islands that are most likely to take a direct hit by the eye wall of Irma are Barbuda, St. Barthélemy, St. Martin and Anguilla through early Wednesday morning. Hurricane force winds, 74+ mph, are expected within the hurricane warning area of the Leeward Islands early Wednesday, and tropical storm force winds, 39+ mph, are arriving in Antigua and Barbuda. Destructive winds, capable of widespread tree damage, long-lived power outages, and structural devastation can be expected. Storm surge flooding, high surf and rip currents will also be dangers, and heavy rain could contribute to flooding and mudslides, as well. The NHC says that a storm surge of 7 to 11 feet above normal tide levels is possible in the extreme northern Leeward Islands near and north of where the center tracks. Battering waves will ride atop the surge, capable of additional damage and erosion at the coast. Rainfall totals in the Leeward Islands may total 8 to 12 inches, with locally 20 inches in spots, especially in elevated spots. Conditions should improve by Wednesday night. Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. It will be a very close call whether the eye wall of Irma, containing the highest, most destructive winds, will track over the Virgin Islands and northern Puerto Rico. Regardless of that, hurricane force winds, 74+ mph, are expected in the hurricane warning area by late Wednesday, with tropical storm force winds, 39+ mph, beginning early Wednesday. The NHC says that a storm surge of 7 to 11 feet above normal tide levels is possible in the Virgin Islands, except St. Croix. Additionally, a storm surge of 3 to 5 feet is possible along the northern coast of Puerto Rico, along with a storm surge of 1 to 2 feet along the southern coast of Puerto Rico and St. Croix. Heavy rain bands are also likely to affect Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, which may result in flooding and mudslides. Rainfall may total 4 to 10 inches, with locally 15 inches in spots. Conditions should improve quickly by later Thursday morning. Irma will likely pass near Hispaniola, the Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas and Cuba late this week into the weekend as a major hurricane. Reiterating the timing of the closest approach of the center we mentioned earlier, Dominican Republic/Haiti, Thursday. Tropical storm force winds will arrive Wednesday night or on Thursday. Turks and Caicos, late Thursday to Friday. Bahamas, late Thursday this weekend arriving from east to west. Cuba, Friday this weekend arriving from east to west. Most at risk of the worst impacts near the center are the north coasts of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, the Turks and Caicos, southeast Bahamas, and areas near the north coast of Cuba. Life-threatening storm surge will arrive Thursday in the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos Islands, with some areas in this archipelago receiving an inundation of 15 to 20 feet above normal tide levels. This surge will be accompanied by destructive waves. It is possible that Irma will make landfall somewhere on the northern Cuba coast sometime late Friday or on Saturday as a major hurricane. Hurricane conditions will be possible along the coast and a few miles inland if Irma makes landfall. Residents and visitors in these areas should continue to monitor the progress of Irma and make preparations for a possible direct hit. It's too early to determine the extent of any impacts at this time. Follow the advice of local officials in the days ahead for instruction. Officials in the Florida Keys are set to begin mandatory evacuations for visitors on Wednesday morning ahead of rapidly approaching Hurricane Irma. The storm, which has undergone rapid intensification in the past several days, is now the strongest Atlantic hurricane in the last 10 years, a dangerous Category 5, which could have severe impacts on Caribbean island nations and possibly the United States. States of emergency have been declared in Florida and Puerto Rico, and residents across the region are trying to stock up on food, water and other essentials. Here are the latest preparations for the coming storm. South Florida residents already prepping for storm. Officials in the Florida Keys have activated the Monroe County Emergency Operations Center, and have ordered mandatory evacuations for both visitors and residents ahead of Hurricane Irma. Visitors will begin evacuating at sunrise on Wednesday, the county said in a Facebook post, while schedules for resident evacuations are still being determined. If ever there was a storm to take seriously in the Keys, this is it, Monroe County Emergency Management Director Martin Centerfit told WPLG. The sooner people leave, the better. Starting Wednesday, all schools in the Florida Keys will be closed until further notice, the Monroe County School District said in a statement on Tuesday. Miami-Dade County officials are advising residents living in low-lying areas to start evacuating tomorrow. Residents in the Miami area are already getting jittery ahead of the approaching storm. According to the Miami Herald, bottled water was in short supply and stores are packed with shoppers. It's gonna get crazy and I'd rather get it done before there's more people and it's chaos. Mike Kaisk, who was buying groceries at the Publix in Morningside, told the Herald. If I waited, then all that would be left is cans of tomato sauce. Even in Northwest Florida, shoppers are taking precautions. I have to be prepared, Lauren Hook told Where. With everything going on in Houston, with going through Ivan, I have a 5-month-old at home. I feel like I have to be ready. I feel like I prepare like it's coming because probably one's going to come eventually. I'd rather be prepared. It's better safe than sorry. Florida Gov. Rick Scott said on Tuesday that he had spoken to President Trump, who offered the full resources of the federal government as Floridians prepare for Hurricane Irma. Monday, Scott declared a state of emergency for every county in the state in anticipation of a possible strike from Hurricane Irma, which was upgraded to a Category 5 hurricane Tuesday morning with sustained winds of 175 miles per hour. In the declaration, Scott said he was instructing the director of the Division of Emergency Management to execute the state's comprehensive emergency management plan and other response, recovery and mitigation plans to cope with the emergency. I have continued to be briefed by the Florida Division of Emergency Management on Hurricane Irma, and current forecast models have Florida in Irma's path, potentially impacting millions of Floridians, Scott said in a statement. Today, given these forecasts and the intensity of this storm, I have declared a state of emergency for every county in Florida to make certain that state, federal and local governments are able to work together and make sure resources are dispersed to local communities as we get prepared for this storm. Scott noted that while the exact path of Irma is not yet known, in Florida, we always prepare for the worst and hope for the best. We cannot afford to not be prepared. Caribbean islands bracing for impacts. With hurricane warnings and watches issued for the northeastern Leeward Islands, authorities are scrambling to be ready for first impacts, which could begin by Tuesday. We're looking at Irma as a very significant event, Ronald Jackson, executive director of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, told the AP. I can't recall a tropical con developing that rapidly into a major hurricane prior to arriving in the Central Caribbean. V.C. Byrd International Airport in Antigua announced Tuesday that the airport would close at 4 p.m. Additional flights have been added out of 2 Caribbean islands as Hurricane Irma strengthened to Category 5 on Tuesday morning. American Airlines has scheduled the extra flights out of St. Martin and St. Kitts and Nevis to Miami ahead of the storm, which is now the strongest hurricane to form in the Atlantic in 10 years. American also announced that passengers with tickets for Tuesday or Wednesday to destinations in the path of Hurricane Irma can change their tickets without change fees. Kenneth Mapp, the governor of the U.S. Virgin Islands, sent a request for an emergency declaration to the White House. Antigua's Prime Minister, Gaston Brown, is urging residents to prepare for the storm by cleaning drains and removing objects that could become airborne by high winds. Meanwhile, workers began pruning trees and shrubs to reduce chances for branches to tear down power and phone lines, the AP reports. The passage of a hurricane is not a matter to be taken lightly, but we must not panic, Brown said in a statement. The National Hurricane Center said Irma had maximum sustained winds of 175 miles per hour Tuesday morning. In the Dominican Republic, Public Works Minister Gonzalo Castillo said workers are clearing away roadworks and cleaning blockages from sewers. He noted that President Danilo Medina will lead a meeting with emergency agencies on Monday to discuss storm preparations. Doss, owner of the food center in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, told Reuters that traffic at his store on Monday was about 50% higher than normal as people stocked up on water, canned products and batteries. "It's kind of dwindling down now, everybody's pretty much stocked up," Doss said. "You make sure you have fuel in your generator and hope it's not that bad when it does arrive." 4 cruise lines have been forced to change itineraries and shore excursions have been canceled due to the approach of Hurricane Irma, Cruise Critic reports. Puerto Rico declares state of emergency. Puerto Rico Gov. Ricardo Rossello has declared a state of emergency, while Eastern Caribbean islands braced for a possible hit by the Category 4 hurricane. The governor said Tuesday that he has asked President Trump to declare a federal state of emergency for the island. Authorities in Puerto Rico have activated the U.S. territory's emergency plan and are warning residents to prepare for the major hurricane, which could hit the island as early as Wednesday. "We have established protocols for the safety of all," Rossello said at a news conference Monday, adding that schools would be closed Tuesday and businesses would close Tuesday afternoon. Led by the Puerto Rico State Agency for Emergency and Disaster Management, agencies are making funds available in advance of the storm. More, latest forecast for Hurricane Irma. Gloria Maranduyar, the Secretary of the Puerto Rico Department of Family Affairs, said $65 million was released for the Nutrition Assistance Program, while 5.4 million pounds of contingency food was identified for some 160,000 people. The Puerto Rico Housing Secretary, Fernando Gil, said 456 shelters with a capacity for 62,100 people have been readied and some schools have already been closed. Officials with the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority have inspected main transmission lines and trimmed trees in critical areas in an effort to reduce power outages. "It's no secret that the infrastructure of the Puerto Rico Power Authority is deteriorated," Rossello told reporters.